Hello and welcome to another episode of the Monday Night Wars. It is the new year. We are in 1997, where it all starts clicking. We are popping. We are rocking. January 6th, 1997. I'm so excited, Joseph, because as soon as the clock struck midnight and the calendar flipped over, it's gonna be nothing but bangers, right?
Absolutely.
No, we got like 6 to 8 months more of bad Raw before that happens. But
To be fair, it's like
happening.
it's like hit and miss over the next 6 or 8 months, right? There's some episodes that are horrible, and there's some like, oh, that's pretty good, and then there's finally one where it's like, oh, this feels like something.
There are
And then it starts
flashes.
doing well. Yeah.
There are a lot of flashes over the next several months. And it's actually kind of exciting. When Joseph and I watched this together the first time and we started seeing these flashes, it was kind of fun because we're kind of like, Raw may have sucked, but there'll be a moment in Raw where we're like, oh, it's happening,
Yeah.
So there's going to be stuff like that. I'm excited to talk about that. But let's get into it because we got Nitro to start off the night. They're in the Monroe Civic Center in Monroe, Louisiana. That's cool, right? We like that. We like Monroe, Louisiana. Do we not?
I got a home there, an extra house, and I go there all the time.
Yeah, big fans of it. Big fans of Monroe, Louisiana, and that's about it. We got Tony, we got Larry, and we got Glacier versus beautiful Bobby Eaton. He's got a new name. Beautiful
Nice.
Bobby Eaton. 1 minute 56 seconds. What did you make of this, stud?
It's a Glacier match. I mean, it's exactly what you expect it to be. It's not good, and Glacier wins, and it gets an F. It's kind of sad, right? Because we have talked about this before. We don't hate Glacier by any stretch, but the execution on this has been so bad, and it would have just been nicer if they had done maybe a simpler character to make that work. And it's just now it's like this dude's so dead in the water. They're building to nothing. He's not going to be going for a title. Like they're just plugging him in because like, well, we spent all this money on him, so we might as well use him. And it's like, all right, so this is just a very odd way to start the show. It really starts off with like okay.
Well, yeah, and I don't know if it's that he's not a good wrestler or what, but I think he's not a good wrestler. Because he's a martial artist, right? He's not really a wrestler. He's like a martial artist. And I don't really think he knows the finer points of wrestling necessarily, because he does all these martial arts things, but he does them really slow, because I think he's worried about like hurting the person if he like did them like for real. So he always does them really slow. It looks ridiculous. I think I described it on a previous podcast. It's like playing like Elden Ring or one of those games, and it's the boss is charging up his super attack, and it's super slow because it's supposed to give you time to like counter it or whatever. And I feel like that's what Glacier's cryonic kick is. It's like the slow, heavy attack buildup, but no one seems to be able to block it, even though you've got like 15-minute warning.
It's an I don't even know if I would say he's a bad wrestler. I just think that adding martial arts to a wrestling character is very difficult. Because I pulled it up, right? I pulled up his Wikipedia to kind of look into this. So it looks like he started wrestling in 1987. I'm not convinced that he started doing the martial arts in his wrestling until very recently, because he doesn't quite seem to know how to meld them really well. And it's like a great kind of counter to Glacier, especially at this time period, is Rob Van Dam, right? Rob Van Dam does very kind of martial arts style moves, but they just meld so seamlessly with all of his wrestling moves. And I feel like that's what Glacier is trying to do, but it just doesn't quite work the way he wants it to.
It's not good. Which makes me sad, because like I said, I've talked about it. I really like playing as him in the video games, and now to like see him, I'm like, oh, he's not good. After that, though, well, I mean, not even just after that, but during the entire match, we got Tony and Larry just talking nonstop about Roddy Piper, about Hollywood Hogan, about what happened at Starrcade. Like, we're given the whole thing over again.
Yeah.
It's like, and they're talking again. I guess Piper still hasn't officially joined WCW, because they're talking about like, wouldn't it be great if he did? And he led WCW against NWO, And then we see a clip of Big Bubba turning on Dungeon of Doom and joining NWO. And it's just, what'd you make all this? There was a lot. There was a lore dump.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of something that WCW really did start with Piper, right? It started with Piper kind of when he debuted, and he had that whole thing where him and Hogan talked way, 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 way too long. They went over time and all that. And like the next week, they were like, oh, we're going to re-show that whole segment, right? And this is kind of a weird trend that WCW starts for a while, where like, since that segment, they'll replay things that they've already shown a million times, sometimes in full length. I'm just not a fan of it. Like, you can do a quick breakdown, you can do a vignette. I'm fine with that. I get it. You kind of need to make sure people are aware of it. I'm okay with that. But when you spend 10, 15 minutes on something, it's like, all right, we're wasting time now.
You're not wrong. This is something they do all the time, where they just show like full length. And I guess, to be fair, WWF does it sometimes too, but it's like, I guess I get it more with WCW because they got 2 hours to fill, where with WWF, there's just like no excuse for showing things in their entirety, because it's like, guys, you got like 40 minutes, you know? But yeah, it's crazy though, because we've seen it, much like we've kind of seen our next match. You know, like, as I mentioned, Big Bubba left the Dungeon of Doom. He and Conan are feuding as a result, because I guess he choked Conan with a leather strap. We were supposed to get this match last week, and then we didn't for some inexplicable reason. We got Conan versus Mr. Wall Street. I think he's going by Mr. Wall Street now, formerly VK Wall Street, formerly Wall Street, formerly V Wall Street, I don't know. Anyways, we didn't like it then, and we're getting it again. But this time with Big Bubba. Mexican strap match, which is apparently different than the Puerto Rican strap matches we've been seeing over on WWF. 5 minutes, 52 seconds. Tell me about this one.
There's not much to say. I mean, this is technically better than the previous match from the, last week. But, and the reason it's better is really for one reason. There's actually a story here, right? These two actually have been feuding. The throw-in last week made no sense. They could have done so many things about, like, Conan could have been like, Big Bubba's ducking me. We were supposed to have this match, blah, 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 but we're not. So now we're going to have it next week. Whatever. They could have found a way to do it. Throwing in VK Wall Street, a.k.a. Mike Wall Street, a.k.a. Mr. Wall Street, throwing him into that match is fucking useless. So this one at least has a storyline going into it. So it's fine. But we kind of see the exact same accidental finish that we had last week, where it's like, oh, by chance, Conan hits the fourth post, and it's like, I kind of hate that spot. Like, it can work, but I've now seen it. We saw it with Savio Vega and Austin, and now we've seen it twice with Conan in literally 2 weeks, and I think we're going to see it another time very soon. And it's just like, guys, you have to be cognizant of the fact that this spot has been done a number of times within the last year. So I gave it a C. It's not horrible. It's 5 minutes is really not enough time for a strap match, but it's just, it's kind of a slow start for me for WCW.
Yeah, it's not great, but I guarantee, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to get much better, because something big is going to happen. A match of the century is going to be on tonight. I'm very happy to talk about it, but it's not yet. Because first, we got to go to Mean Gene and Kevin Sullivan in the back, because we're still doing this Chris Benoit woman love triangle thing. Kevin Sullivan, the Taskmaster, very upset that Gene brought it up, even though Kevin Sullivan's the booker and this is his idea.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know. Gene says they should put their differences aside because NWO is the bigger threat. And then Kevin Sullivan says, nah, he stole my woman.
Yeah.
And then I guess I'll just keep going and you can talk about both together because they're kind of together. Then we go to a commercial break and come back, and Gene's got the Four Horsemen, and now we're getting the Four Horsemen side of the story, and I don't like any of this. What you make of it, Joseph?
Yeah, I mean, I will talk about these as two kind of separate, but you're right, they're pretty much connected. So Sullivan says he didn't have a good 1996, and he doesn't want to see any more tapes. And kind of to your point, like, he's the booker, right? So, but also, like, he doesn't want to see any more tapes. And then that plays right into the end of this, which makes no sense. Gene says he does have another tape but this one is not of Benoit or of Nancy, but someone else. And Taskmaster seemingly knows who he's referring to and is not pleased. By the way, this will not get a payoff in the next 2 weeks. I don't know if it ever does, but this tease does not get a payoff in the next 2 weeks. So I don't know why the fuck they put it here the way they did. It gets a D. It's not good. Moving into the Four Horsemen bit, this one has everyone minus Benoit and Woman of the Four Horsemen. Arn says he picks his words carefully, and last week he didn't want to step on any toes. He asks if Flair knows where Benoit and Woman are, and Flair repeats his married to the devil line about Kevin Sullivan and says Benoit is working her out. Wow, dear God. Deborah says she is sick and tired of Chris and Nancy. She says with no makeup, Nancy is as ugly as Grandpa's toenails. Dear God. She then applauds Flair, and Arn then says her and Mongo have never missed anything and puts over Jeff Jarrett. Mongo doesn't seem to be pleased. Then Jarrett comes out and asks Flair if he wants a part-time horseman or a full-time horseman. Arn says you aren't a horseman, which is true. If you aspire to be one, stop crying and playing victim, which is a great line from Arn. Also, real quickly, the part-time horseman or full-time horseman, I thought was a very good line from Jeff Jarrett.
Yes.
Jarrett calls Arn second fiddle and the horse's rear. And he says he wants to talk to the head of the horse, and he turns to Flair, which again, a really good line from Jeff Jarrett. Like, it's a complete downplay of Arn. I don't like that you're downplaying Arn, but for the sake of what you're doing, I get it, and it makes sense. The minute he turns to Flair, Arn's like, nah, I'm not taking that, which is great because Arn shouldn't take it. And he just starts beating him up. And then we just get this like kind of knockout brawl out thing between the two of them. And they kind of have to get pulled away. And Deborah wants Mongo and Arn to leave Jarrett alone. And the horsemen kind of start falling apart. And then this kind of, ends after this. I do think I gave this a B. It starts off really rough. I don't really like what Flair was doing. I don't like at all what Deborah was doing. Flair, I mentioned this, I think, last week. Flair's kind of been phoning it in for the last few months, and you see that here as well. Jeff Jarrett is phenomenal in this promo. I think he does a great, great job, and that's really the only reason it's getting a B. And I also like that Arn was like, nah, I'm not going to take that from you. You know what I've done in my career, and that makes sense, too. That should be an Arn thing. So I thought those two really saved this. They also steered it clear away from the whole Woman and Benoit and Taskmaster thing, which I really appreciated too. So I liked the end of this a lot more than the first part of it.
I'm going to have to disagree with you there, Lou. Who would have thought I'd make a fucking Fargo reference on this podcast? Anyways, I kind of like the Deborah stuff. I don't necessarily like what she's saying because it's just kind of nasty, but I do like this two-face thing Deborah's doing, that when Woman isn't there, she's talking shit, but when Woman's there, they're like girls, like, oh, you're so beautiful, we're girls. I kind of like that. I kind of like that from Deborah.
I'll give you that. I'll definitely give you that.
I like that. And you're absolutely right, though. Jarrett and Arn steal the show on this one. Jarrett's got quite a few bangers. I was like, good promo, good promo, Jarrett. And then Arn's like, I'm not gonna take this. Let's just handle it. And boy, do they handle it, because they just fight all over the place. They just start rumbling. The crowd is into it. They're hot for it. They want the DDT. There's a chant of DDT. It's good. I liked that part. I liked that brawl. After that, though, we got Diamond Dallas Page's music playing, but there's no DDP. And instead, we cut that. We put Steven Regal's music in. Steven Regal come out because he's defending the WCW television title tonight on television on our flagship program. I always like to note when they do that because it's earth-shattering. It's crazy. It's crazy.
They have been doing it quite a few weeks lately. So
Eric is a fan of the pod. He heard us. He said, we got to fix this. He got in his DeLorean. He went back and he said, fix this. 1997 Eric. And he did. It's beautiful. But there's no DDP. He was supposed to be wrestling DDP tonight. So who's it going to be, Joseph? Oh my. Oh, be still, my heart. It's the American hero Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Match of the night. 8 minutes, 27 seconds. I note 8 minutes, 27 seconds for a very particular reason. Go ahead, Joseph. Tell me about this match.
I don't think I need to. You said it's match of the night. So Hacksaw comes out, like you said, as the new opponent, and NWO commentary come out. It's Bischoff, Nash, and Six, and they take over the booth. They declare that DDP and Scott Hall are having dinner and that he is the newest member of the NWO. And then we get a phenomenal match. I should note real quickly that Hacksaw Jim Duggan does not come out in his Americana gear. He comes out in his brand new Team WCW gear. He's waving a WCW flag, not the American flag. I think he even cuts a promo like next week or something, talking about like how he's putting USA to the side for a little bit because WCW needs him, kind of a thing. It's a pretty decent little promo. But
the
he's also
hero we need.
He's also wearing purple trunks as opposed to his standard blue trunks and gold boots. And it's fucking great. I actually really enjoy it. Regal and Duggan, they continue their phenomenal chemistry that we saw quite a few months ago. Bischoff finally mentions about that deadline they had for, you got to transfer your WCW contracts to NWO contracts. He says, that's come and gone. Okay, so what was the payoff of that? He says that he signed the ideal candidate for the NWO, and we will see him soon. I'm pretty sure that this is going to be, spoiler, not telling you, you're going to have to listen and find out. Hacksaw then wraps up his tape and he clobbers Regal, but it's a time limit draw, so Regal technically retains. Hacksaw then runs around with the WCW flag, and that's fantastic. I love this. It was great. I gave it a B. There's no storyline in it. It's not quite as good as their one they had before, especially because the focus isn't entirely on Hacksaw and Regal. So there is also a tidbit where Eric Bischoff says that DDP is having dinner with Scott Hall and that he is in fact the newest member of the NWO. And so that will be a huge storyline going into next week. But that's why DDP is not here for this match, which was supposed to be scheduled a WCW TV championship match for him. So that's why Hacksaw gets it. Overall, though, I thought it was a great segment. I thought NWO did really well. Hacksaw obviously did great. Regal, I mean, it's fucking Regal. He never does poorly. So there you go. It was really good. I enjoyed it.
These two just have such fantastic chemistry. I love it. I love these matches. They're so fun. You're right about Hacksaw being Team WCW now with the purple and gold, which you're right. I think looks great. I did find it kind of funny though that it was a time limit draw and it was 8 minutes and 27 seconds. Like, what is the time limit? I thought it was 10. What did we count? Did we count like the before? Like did it start when DDP's music hit? What I don't know.
The time limit is like the over the top rope rule. It only matters when it matters. Okay.
Did they just think that, in 2025, I wouldn't get out my stopwatch?
I think that's exactly what they thought.
They didn't think I would do that. I know that they were cheating us like 3 minutes more that I could have gotten of Steven Regal and Hacksaw Jim Duggan going at it. I would have gladly paid for that extra 3 minutes, sir. Good stuff. Good stuff. Match of the night. It is. There's another match pretty good too, but these
I got to run through this real quick. Now, this might be match of the night. I mean, you're all right. There is another pretty good match, but I don't know if there's a match that's better than this one.
Yeah, but no, this is it because it's just so good. It's so good. But what isn't match of the night is our next match because it's Hugh Morris and Jim Powers, and it's like a minute. Larry and Tony back in the booth. Who cares? Tell me about it.
Yeah, there's nothing to say about this. Morris wins easily with the moonsault. It gets a D. It's not horrible. It's not good.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. And that leads us into hour number 2. We got Tony, and now we got Bobby and Mike Tenay. They're talking about the problems within the Four Horsemen. That's been a big topic of the night. Is Benoit in? Is he out? The woman, she's causing all these problems. Like, Team WCW needs to get it together because the NWO is taking over. I mentioned that there's another pretty good match tonight, and I think you'll agree with me that it's probably this one. There's actually another one after this that I kind of enjoy too.
Okay.
Rey Mysterio and Psychosis. They're going to do all the flippy shit. We love the flippy shit. 6 minutes, 43 seconds. Tell me.
We do love the flippy shit. However, this is an incredibly sloppy match between both men. I don't know if I would say it's one person's fault over the other. Just historically, Psychosis is not quite as crisp as Rey Mysterio. I'm not going to blame him for it, but this is a very, very sloppy match. They're kind of always seemingly just a step behind each other in this match, which is not, I'm going to say it's irritating, but it's just, you're kind of on the edge of your seat. Like, this might end poorly if they do something incorrectly. Eventually, though, Rey hits the Rana and it was over. I did enjoy this. I didn't hate it by any stretch, but it was quite sloppy, so I gave it a C+.
It was insane. Because the whole time, like, oh my God. I tell you, it had me on the edge of my seat because I thought someone was going to die. So for that, it's pretty exciting.
That's not the right reason to enjoy it.
It's true. It's true. Well, on a positive note, I know both the guys live, so I knew it wasn't going to be terrible. But the whole time I was still like, oh, like, you missed that spot. You missed that spot. Yep. Oh, God.
Yep.
You know? But still, when those two guys go at it, I enjoy it, even if it's sloppy, just because they're doing crazy shit, which they probably shouldn't have been doing, but it's good. After that, though, we got a real downer for me. Because we got Kevin Sullivan, and we got Chavo in a match, and Chavo don't win. 2 minutes, 17 seconds. It's bad. No. It's bad for old Chavo. Tell me about it.
Taskmaster beats the holy hell out of Chavo. Chavo really gets no offense in. Sullivan wins very easily. There's really not much more to say. I gave this a C-.
Kevin Sullivan thought that was Chris Benoit. You know, he saw that dude and he said, Chris, is that you? just did what he had to do, man. It was crazy.
All he heard when Chavo walked out was
Yeah, man. He heard, Chris Benoit.
Oh, so dumb. I loved it.
That's what he heard. And it sent him into a rage. It's like a bull seeing red. After that, though, did you know Roddy Piper's involved in WCW now?
Had no idea.
Because we talk about it again. And we show a bunch of footage and shit from last week about him getting stretchered out. The NWO just wrecked the poor guy. He gets, they said he got stretchered out. They had to fly him out, I think they claim. It's just, we don't know, we don't know if he's going to be even alive for the pay-per-view. After that, though, this is the other match I was really talking about. I enjoy this one. Are you with me on this? You like this? Because we got Eddie Guerrero and we got Alex Wright. We got the Wunderkind, Alex Wright, in a pretty good match. Don't you think?
This is a fantastic match. This actually wasn't the match I was thinking of. There's another one that I actually quite enjoyed. Again, this is kind of, WCW, they've been known to do this for a while, right? Back half seems to be really, really fire. Front half, not as great. But this is a fantastic match. It's, like you said, it's got Alex Wright. So we know Ronnie Schmidt got to be happy. He goes against Eddie Guerrero. As you said, it is for the U.S. Heavyweight Championship. However, Eddie Guerrero does not have that belt with him because it was stolen by the NWO, specifically Six, who does come into play during this match. He brings a ladder down, which I thought was honestly kind of funny, and he jumps up on the ladder, and he's taunting Eddie Guerrero, and Eddie Guerrero finally notices it. It takes Eddie Guerrero a while to notice him, but he finally does notice him, and then Alex Wright takes advantage, but he does not win, and Eddie Guerrero ultimately will win this match, hitting the frog splash, but even though he retains the championship, he doesn't have the championship still. So that dastardly Six is still keeping. I think is in this one. Is this one where Eddie charges Six and Six runs away too?
Yeah, he climbs and taunts Eddie. He's got the belt. Eddie kind of goes for it. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. You're on the right track.
Yeah, and so Eddie does kind of run out there and try to, but by the minute he starts charging him, Six just jumps off the ladder and is like, nope. Deuces, I'm out of here. So it's fun. It's good story work. I kind of like what's going on with Six. He's starting to kind of get his own character here. So I think I mentioned this when he was 1, 2, 3 Kid, right? They do this thing with him where they kind of want to make him the really sniveling kind of bully. And they want to do that with him as 1, 2, 3 Kid so badly, and they never land it. And I think I mentioned back then that kind of becomes his character in WCW, but by this point, he's really kind of figured it out. And this is kind of the start of it, right? By all accounts, he's done nothing. He has done nothing as part of the NWO, but he's sure as shit acting like he has. And that works really well for Six because he will become the workhorse for this faction for quite a few months. So I'm happy to see him and Eddie Guerrero kind of having this rivalry, especially because Eddie needed something to do after DDP, and now he's got something. So it works really well for him too.
Now that I know that our boy Ronnie is from Bavaria,
Correct.
This adds even more importance because you know who else is from Bavaria?
Bro, is Alex Wright from Bavaria?
Hell yeah, he's from Nuremberg, which is the largest city in Bavaria. So there you go.
Is Nuremberg where that racetrack is?
Yeah, that's what Nuremberg's famous for, the racetrack.
You know what I mean?
There is a racetrack there, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a stadium there that some things happened at that we're not, rallies of some kind that we're not going to talk about. We're not going to go there. Okay. We're not going to go there. Not on this program. Not on this program. We're not going to do that to our boy and bring up.
It's not Nuremberg. I'm thinking of Nürburgring. That's what I'm thinking of.
Of
I was
course.
like, is that? Yeah, Nürburgring. The reason I know that is because that's where whenever they make a supercar, Nürburgring is where they test the supercar on.
So there we have it. There we have it. That's what it is. Nothing ever happened in Nuremberg.
I mean, what could you possibly be talking about, Scott?
I'm not going there. Lee Marshall, 1-800-COLLECT. Up next, Lee Marshall, 1-800-COLLECT. He's in New Orleans because they're going to be at the Superdome. That's pretty cool, man. That's big. That's big timing at the Superdome. And there's a weasel joke.
Yes, there is.
Yeah. What'd you make of another phenomenal Lee Marshall call-in?
It should go without saying that this gets an A+, but he says he's on a floating riverboat Nitro party, which has got to be just an exquisite Nitro party. He says he's going to take Bobby to see Chef Harry and get some of his famous Bayou Blackened Weasel. This completely breaks Tony Schiavone and Mike Tenay, by the way. They just start fucking laughing in hysterics. And then Bobby says cops will have Lee face down within the week. And I was just like, Jesus Christ, Bobby. Bobby don't seem to be enjoying the digs quite as much, but I love it. It's fantastic.
But we do.
Yeah, it's great.
But we do.
It's great because they're ridiculous. That's what makes them so good.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, well, the whole thing is insane. Just that Lee Marshall is just an absolute party animal, having these parties all over the country. He's just backstage.
No. I have heard that he is in those places. What are you talking about? He ain't backstage. Get out of here.
He's just calling from a payphone backstage. We all know it.
And you know where he's going to be calling from next week?
Where?
Nuremberg.
They got a racetrack there or something.
Yeah. And that's all they're known for.
That's it. Anyways, let's move on. You're not gonna catch me slipping. I'm not gonna talk about it. Anyways,
he's gonna talk about the new SS Weasel.
Oh my God. Harlem Heat, the Amazing French Canadians, also a pretty good match. I like the Amazing French Canadians. They're a tag team, and that's really my bar is so low. This is like you tag team.
Yeah.
If you're an actual honest to God tag team, I'm in. 4 minutes, 6 seconds. Tell me about it.
Bobby says that Colonel Robert Parker looks like Claude Rains from Casablanca. Bobby, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. I fucking love that movie. I know you love that movie. It's a great movie. This is actually a very fun match, like you said. And I was quite surprised by that and the reason it's fun is it isn't what we've been getting from these two teams lately, which is inevitably Robert Parker having some sort of shenanigans with Sister Sherry. And it kind of makes us go, and think about bad times. This is really a straightforward match, which allows them all four to really have a good contest. We had accidentally hit Rougeau with the Montreal flag, and the Harlem Heat hit what they're calling the Heat Bomb for the win, which is kind of a new finisher, I think, for them. I haven't seen it before really very recently. I really enjoyed this. This was a B from me. I think that they did a lot better than I ever expected. I was going to probably give this in the C range, and then I was like, oh, this was really fun.
I will correct you and just say that it was the Quebec flag. Montreal is a city in Quebec.
Oh, that's a good point.
The Expos, they're coming back. I guarantee it.
If only. Bro, we should buy the A's and turn them into the Expos.
Dude. Well, they're in Sacramento now, so I don't know how I feel about that because I am longtime fan of the Sacramento A's. Long time. But I may be willing to let them go if they would go to Montreal and become the Expos because I love the Expos.
I do too. Yeah. Went to a Dodger game against the Expos when I was a kid.
Oh,
we got our shit kicked in.
It happens. Yeah. It happens. But we got them back. Rick Monday, you are boy.
I mean, that was before I was a kid, but yes, yes, we did.
But they never recovered after Blue Monday. So
no, they did not.
Plus, if we got listeners that are from Montreal right now, they just quit the podcast because that shit they still pissed about that. I've told you a story about Rick Monday, right?
Yeah,
in Montreal.
Yeah, and Blue Monday. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell the pod. I'm gonna tell the pod real fast.
You should.
So this is years after the fact, and Rick Monday was at this point like a commentary guy for the Dodgers on radio, and he's traveling, and he's going. I think he was going to Toronto, and he had a layover in Montreal. I don't know, maybe he was going from somewhere on the East Coast, and the Dodgers then were going to Toronto or whatever. And so he has this layover in Montreal, and he's supposed to get his bag. Like his bag is supposed to come off the plane because he's going to a different plane or whatever. And his bag doesn't show up. There's no bag. And he goes to the counter, and he's asking the guy, and the guy's looking into it. And the guy comes back and goes, "Are you Rick Monday?" And he goes, "Yeah." "Of the Los Angeles Dodgers?" "Yes." And then the guy just smiled, and Rick knew he wasn't going to be getting his luggage back. Because they didn't forget what Rick did to them. It was the closest they ever got to the World Series, and Rick Monday said, "Nah." So now you know you got a little Rick Monday trivia on your Monday Night Wars podcast.
Do they know what Blue Monday is though?
Well, they can look that up. We got to save that for the Dodger pod.
There you go.
Anyways, we go to break, we come back, and we get more Starrcade highlights. We got Sting coming to the ring, knocking down Nick Patrick. We got all kinds of stuff, man. What'd you make of this?
Look, you want to hear about Starrcade and all that, you gotta listen to the freaking Patreon.
Man, that was such a sell. Just man, you're fighting, It's like
Scott knows this.
Do the $2 or whatever,
Scott knows this. So at my work, we're doing end of year inventory. I work for a manufacturing company, and so we're doing it on the weekend, and we do not normally work on the weekend. So this stretch will be a 9-day straight working, and so we were going to record a bunch of episodes today, and Scott was like, "Bro, you're fucking knackered. Why don't we just do one episode so you can get some rest?" So I appreciate it. So if I'm not quite my chipper self, that's why.
He usually greets me as soon as he comes on the pod, and he just kind of stared at me, and I was like, this dude isn't in a good place. So let's get through this one, and we'll put them together one at a time. We'll do a patchwork over the next couple of weeks. Make sure you're in a good headspace, because I need you at your best.
Absolutely,
for the listeners, and especially for our Patreon listeners, because we got a pay-per-view coming up, and I need your A game on that, because people are paying $2 a month to hear our takes on that, but it's well worth it because you are gonna be A game.
Speaking of A game, we got two people that are in their A game, Lex Luger and Meng, up next.
What a segue. Let's talk about it. 4 minutes, 51 seconds.
You're just going to be friends the rest of the day, huh? Look, was that Michael Palin as freaking Cardinal Richelieu? Is that what you were doing right there?
Oh, wait.
I love that freaking sketch. Anyways, this is a hard-hitting match. And you know it's going to be when you have Meng. And Meng really takes Luger to the limit on this before Luger begins to gain momentum. Luger then obviously will lock in the torture rack because that's what he's got to do. But Meng's legs hit the ref. Barbarian attacks Luger, and Luger hits the rack on Barbarian, who taps out, and the ref calls the match because he doesn't realize that it's the wrong Faces of Fear member. And I honestly thought it was a really fun ending. I enjoyed the hell out of this. I gave it a B.
Ref got his clock cleaned. Everything's a little blurry to him. He's like, looks like a Samoan. So we're good. I actually kind of like, usually you and I are kind of like dumb finish or whatever when they kind of do stuff like this. But I actually thought this worked. I kind of liked it. I thought it was funny. It worked for me.
Yeah. I agree.
But here's the big thing, Joseph. Here's the big thing. We round out the night with a final segment from NWO. And I got to know what you think about this. Does this, the match we just saw worked for me, but did this work for you, this finale here? Or is NWO getting kind of played out?
They're very close to it, I will say, but I did like this segment. So Bischoff says that Hogan beat Piper twice in 1 week because they're being delusional, which is fine. I get it. Bischoff says that Hogan took on the Giant single-handedly too, which obviously we know if you watched last week, he did not. Hogan and Bischoff say Giant begged for the beating to be over. And then Giant charges the ring and he beats up Nash and then the rest of the NWO. It's just Hogan and Giant mano a mano. And then Giant is taking down Hogan when Bischoff hits him with the distraction and allows Hogan to grab a chair and start wailing on the Giant. The NWO celebrate and start to walk out to commentary. As they jump up on commentary, Sting walks into the ring. He whispers in Giant's ear. Then he points his bat at the NWO, and they think that he's pointing at them in celebration. Then he leaves the bat near the Giant, and they tell Vincent, hey, go grab the bat. Go, that's our bat. Go grab it. So Vincent runs over, and he has to make sure Giant's knocked out first. He's kind of hesitant, but he's like, oh, this guy's, he got his clock cleaned. We're good, right? And so he grabs the bat, and he starts taunting Giant, who grabs the bat from him, and then he chokes Vincent and hits the choke slam. Now Giant has the bat himself, and the NWO charge him, but they don't really want to get in the ring with a Giant with a bat. And so they're like, nah, we're good. And while this is happening, the crowd loves it, and they are chanting, we want Sting, as he looks on and the show closes. Yes, the NWO is starting to get there. You're absolutely right. However, Sting is making them relevant again.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
It's beautiful, man.
It is. It is. But not as beautiful as WWF Raw at the Knickerbocker Arena in Albany, New York. I'm actually kind of mad about it. That a Knickerbocker Arena exists in New York and the Knicks don't play at it. Because that's what the Knicks, that's the Knicks. They were the Knickerbockers and they got shortened to the Knicks. That's what it means. But I mean, it's the Garden though. So I mean, can I get too upset? Because the Garden, it's a hell of a place. I've never been there, but I hear it's nice.
What, Madison Square Garden?
Yeah, MSG, man.
Everybody says it's like one of the all-time, right? And I've obviously never been.
You know, when WrestleMania goes there, we're going.
I don't think WrestleMania will ever go there again.
You don't think so?
It's too small of an arena.
They
kind of exclusively do stadiums now, like giant stadiums. They don't do arenas anymore.
Well, we'll have to find a promotion that is not as good that might do a smaller arena like that for a pay-per-view. I can't think of any.
I looked up Knickerbocker Arena, which is now MVP Arena, by the way. So at least it's not the same name. But I looked it up to see, like, okay, maybe the reason they're called that is because that's where the Knicks initially played. No, they've never once played there.
It hurts me. It hurts me because it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense. Anyways, we got Jerry and we got Vince on commentary. We get some hype about Brett and Vader. They're going to be the main event tonight. And then we get into it. Oh, I guess what I will say, they show us a little bit from Shotgun Saturday Night. Ahmed did the Pearl River plunge on some nation guy on the hood of a car. That shit kind of looked nasty. Marlena gave the Sultan an eyeful, and Bob Backlund's back or something. I don't know. Shotgun Saturday Night,
where the storylines happen.
I guess, yeah, because it happened. There's a lot of stuff going on. But let's get into our first match of the night because we got Owen Hart and Mankind, 7 minutes, 8 seconds. I like the sound of this, Joseph. Tell me.
I like the sound of it and the look of it. This is a really fun match that goes back and forth. Obviously, Owen is great. We know this. He's great in the ring. Everyone's aware of this. But Mick Foley never really gets his due credit for his wrestling ability. When people talk about him, they talk about his characters. They talk about him putting his body on the line, all that. But honestly, his in-ring work is really good. Like, it's very underrated. I'm not calling it a Bret Hart or an Owen Hart or a Shawn Michaels. I'm not saying any of those things. I'm saying dude could hold his own with the best of them. And frankly, if you put his in-ring work against someone like Hogan, he blows Hogan out of the water. I'm sorry, he does.
Bam!
Owen accidentally goes shoulder first into the ring post, and Mankind turns it into a pile driver for the win in a very solid opener. There's no storyline in this, but I enjoyed the hell out of it. I gave it a B.
I was surprised you said that. I mean, you're right. Mankind isn't. I was thinking about it as soon as you said Mankind isn't a Bret Hart. Okay, but like most wrestlers aren't a Bret Hart, technical ability wise. But to think, that people don't necessarily think of Mankind or Mick Foley as for his his in-ring abilities. It's more just his willingness to put his body on the line. That's sad to me if that's true, because he's got some great moves that I really love over and over. That little short elbow drop he does, I love that thing. He's got the cactus clothesline, which is fun. He's got that like pulling pile driver that he does, which is how he wins this match. That pull up pile driver. He's got some great moves that I really enjoy. I deny this. I deny that he isn't known for his in-ring abilities, because I think he's a lot of fun. After that, though, we go backstage. We got Shawn Michaels, we got Jose Lothario, and we got his son. Jose's son is here now, and they're very mad at Psycho Sid. What'd you make of this?
Jose says he's doing great from his injury, his heart attack, allegedly, but he will be in Shawn's corner at the Rumble. Jose's son, Pete, like you mentioned, is there. And he also says what Sid did, they don't play that way in Texas. And if he needs to be of assistance, he will. Pete just straight up calling out Sid. I don't care that you're 6'8" or however tall you are. I will fuck you up for what you did to my dad. Kind of appreciate that, to be honest. Shawn then says Sid upset the whole Lothario family and himself, and he can use any cameras he wants. He can use the whole kitchen sink, and it won't matter, which I thought was a good line. HBK will also be at ringside for Vader and the Brett match later on in the night, but he wouldn't dare interfere. I gave this a B. I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it didn't overstay its welcome. I really like Shawn here. Shawn will do this thing for the next few weeks where, like, sometimes he's just like super baby face, and then sometimes he's kind of got an attitude. And I thought he had more of his attitude here, which I really enjoy. Obviously, we're going to be really excited when DX finally happens. But I thought this was a pretty good promo, all things considered.
We like Shawn when he's a dude with attitude.
Absolutely.
We like that, Shawn. It works. What doesn't work, though, is we get the Shotgun Saturday Night stuff again. They show it to us again. Ahmed getting hit with Crush hits him with a chair. Ahmed slams a guy into the hood of a car. The Flying Nuns made their tag team debut on Shotgun Saturday Night.
Yes, they did.
With Brother Love, they are better known as the Headbangers. This will not last very long. I don't think we actually ever see the Flying Nun. Do we see them actually ever wrestle as the Flying Nuns on Raw?
On Raw, I don't think so. I can't recall it at all. But I remember seeing that and going, okay, Flying Nuns have to be somebody. I looked it up, but like I'm sure you did too. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, they become the Headbangers, I mean, this year, because we're watching them, and we're in 97, so it's not long before they're like, this shit ain't working. Headbangers. I was like, what the hell? Anyways, speaking of what the hell, up next, we got Doug Furnas, Phil LaFon versus Fake Razor and Fake Diesel. What the hell? Again, I feel like it.
You just broke. Broke right there.
Well, because the thing is, I feel like I give Doug Furnas and Phil LaFon a lot of crap on the podcast, and I think it's unwarranted. Like, I don't mean to, because I actually kind of like them.
They're very good, yes.
My bar is very low. They're a tag team.
Yeah.
They're technically proficient. They do tag team moves. They're fine. WWF does nothing with them. Just absolutely nothing. And then they put them in a match against the fake outsiders. I mean, it's nonsense. Anyways, tell me about this 9-minute, 17-minute match, the longest match of the night.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't it be? This match is dumb. Furnas and LaFon win with like a modified heart attack. The only thing good about this match is that I can fast forward through it. It's not good. It's bad. It gets an F. We are very close to Fake Diesel and Fake Razor being no more in WWF, by the way. I think right after Royal Rumble, they're pretty much done. And obviously one will do some prosperous things and the other one won't. So there you go.
Yeah, Fake Diesel just doesn't go anywhere.
Absolutely.
You had to think about it a second. You had to think about it for a second. Like, who's Fake Diesel? Oh, wait, no. He's making a joke. I'm making a joke, ladies and gentlemen. But what is no laughing matter is we're still doing this honky tonk man shit because we got honky tonk. He's still looking for the new honky tonk man or whatever. I don't actually know what he's looking for a guy to manage. I don't know why we care, but he's looking.
He's looking for somebody with like a kind of a rockabilly flair. You know what I mean?
Ugh. For our sakes, I hope he never finds him.
Yeah. Oh man.
After that, we go to another recap of last week with the Gold Dust, Jerry Lawler, but then again to Shotgun Saturday Night. Shotgun Saturday Night has gotten there is more story that we're just recycling on Raw from Shotgun Saturday Night. Because again, we're shown Marlena showed
this is
Sultan,
that, yeah.
showed the Sultan her boobies, and that was it. That was and
she did it to like distract him, and then the Sultan was distracted, and then Goldust got the win. Dear God, what are we doing?
Yeah. And then after that, though, we go to the back again because now we're gonna get word from Bret Hart and that Sean's gonna be at ringside, and Bret, he don't like that. Bret do not like that at all. I kind of like this. I like when Bret is shooting on how much he hates Shawn Michaels because it's just real. What'd you make of this?
I actually hated this one. I thought it was not very good because he does his overstaying his welcome thing. He just says that Shawn has no integrity. It's kind of the same thing he said for weeks now. And he hopes that Shawn sticks his nose in his business. And then Sid's music hits during his promo and he's pissed about it, which I do actually kind of like that, although it doesn't make sense that it's Sid and not Shawn, but whatever. Anyways, I did not like this promo. I gave this promo an F.
I'm surprised he got an F because, I agree that Bret goes on too long. If you'd stopped this promo like a couple of minutes in, I think you would have liked it better because I liked the first part and then it just goes too long.
I'm pretty sure there's a promo in the next couple weeks where it's like, oh God, like Bret, like he's just perfect. And I was like really, really proud of him. You know what I mean? Like, he was a true artist in that promo.
Yeah, I think if this has just gone shorter, I think you would have liked it because I liked it to start with. I liked the Psycho Sid stuff because even though it's not Shawn, I do think it kind of goes to this angle that Bret thinks he's the best, and so
and that he's constantly disrespected by WWF.
Yeah. So that stuff I kind of liked. That stuff worked for me, but I agree it did go on too long, much like this podcast. Anyways, we're right on time. Anyways. After that, though, we go to a commercial break. We come back, and we've got Psycho Sid in the ring with Jim Ross. Psycho Sid's going to be facing Shawn Michaels. Is Sid concerned about going up against Shawn in Shawn's hometown of San Antone? No, not at all. Tell me about it, Joseph.
Sid says he's intimidated by nothing. He says you have to be hit or be hitting, kick or be kicking. And sometimes you have to take a camera to someone. I guess that's the saying. He says he was born the man. Shawn can never have that claim. He will walk into San Antonio the man, and he will walk out the man. He says it's easy to say this because he is the master and the ruler of the world. By the way, I severely condensed everything that he said. He then says, I don't know, he doesn't really say a whole lot. And then Shawn comes out and starts dancing. I feel like Calculon in Futurama when Bender's in his show and Bender just starts doing all the shenanigans during one of their takes, and Calculon just goes, I'm not familiar with the type of thing I'm seeing. That's kind of what I felt like when I was watching this. It's really not good. And then Shawn comes out and dances, and then it's like, okay. And then Sid just goes, I apologize for what I'm going to do at the Rumble. And it's like, okay. I gave this a D. It's not good.
Yeah, Sid is hot or cold, and he was cold on this.
Yes,
was not a great promo. But then also, like you said, like the Shawn stuff, also like the whole thing was a mess. The whole thing was a mess, and the only thing that can fix it is our main event: Vader versus Bret Hart. I mean, this has got to be good, right? 8 minutes 41 seconds. Tell me.
You are correct. It is good. We like both these guys in the ring. Absolutely. Vinman says Bret and Shawn have had their fair share of problems. And Shawn says, hey, Bret drew first blood, which is kind of true. He also says, nice boots, Bret. They really match your outfit. And God, I could not agree more with this. This is easily Bret's worst outfit. It isn't flashy. I don't want it. It's bad. It's real bad. Sean does well on commentary, explaining how he has a new attitude, that he has lost as the champ. Incidentally, he may have lost his smile too, but we'll get there. Stone Cold is watching this match on a monitor, which I do like because Stone Cold is obviously part of this like four-way that they're doing. Vader goes for the Vader bomb, but Brett lifts his knees and hits the Russian leg sweep, which I do love from Brett. I think it's a phenomenal move. I shouldn't say it like that. I love Brett in the ring. Brett's great in the ring. So, but the Russian leg sweep is like, I don't know why. It's a very simple move, but the way he hits it is, he's a true artist, is what I'm saying. Anyways, Sid comes out and grabs a cameraman to the back. The ref is distracted by Vader, who wants to hit Brett with the steel steps. Austin runs out and hits the stunner on Brett. Vader rolls Brett back in the ring, hits the Vader bomb, and gets the win. Sid is in the back, and he has Pete Lothario. He hits Pete with a power bomb on and not through a table, as Sean eventually runs back, and he checks on Pete. He is screaming at Sid into the camera. I could not quite make out what he was saying because it was like cutting in and out. But this is a phenomenal end to this night. It is, you have Vader, who needs to kind of be an opposing threat based off of where they want to book him over the next few weeks. You've got Sid continuing his rivalry with Shawn Michaels, and it's staying personal, which I thought this heightened a little bit. On top of that, he does have beef with Bret Hart too. And so he kind of helps to interfere in Bret Hart's match, which, screws Bret Hart over. Speaking of interfering in Bret Hart's match, you have Stone Cold Steve Austin, who is just the biggest thorn in his side of all right now. And Austin does exactly what he needs to do. Walks in, hits the stunner, and fucking leaves. And it's perfect. And I thought Vader winning was the right call. I think it makes a lot of sense for him. Bret Hart doesn't need the win. He does not need the win in this match. Vader does. He needs to stay relevant with a big win right here. And they booked that perfectly. There's a lot going on. I think last week I talked about how they overbooked the shit out of things. Here, there's a lot going on, but they let every single one of them breathe. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I gave this an A.
And there you have it. I mean, I tell you, I was kind of shocked that Sid I can't say put because the table didn't break. It was one of those WCW tables, but Sid putting Pete on the table, that was kind of brutal, Yeah, and Sean's in there screaming, hey, it was only 16 years old. That's not Michael Caine part. But that's a good movie, by the way. But yeah, I actually thought that Raw pretty good tonight, but does it beat WCW?
Ooh, this is a tough one because WCW had a pretty good back half, and obviously the Sting stuff was great. I do think Raw progressed significantly more storylines, which is really what I kind of want from a show. And you mentioned this with the WCW one. The NWO stuff is kind of getting a little bit stale. Next week, I think NWO will do really well with what they've got. I think Raw won this week.
See, I'm going to disagree with you for one very important reason.
Oh, I already know where this is going.
Steven Regal, Jim Duggan. Yeah, gotta be. It's gotta be. Well, I will also say that, WWF progressed a lot of story, but they progressed a lot of story by showing us recaps from Shotgun Saturday Night.
That's true.
Which is a problem for me. Although I can't really knock them for that because WCW did the exact same thing.
Exactly.
So the tie goes to Steven Regal, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, as it always does. As it always does.
Yeah, it's the old saying. Tie goes to Steven Regal, Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Absolutely. That's in the rule book.
Yeah.
But so you're saying Raw and I'm saying Nitro. I guess we'll just have to let the listeners decide. Maybe you can put a poll on the Twitter. Who won? Because we're divided on this. Let's see what the fans think.
Most of these people aren't even able to watch this Raw anymore.
That's true. But they heard everything they need to know from us to make an informed decision, because that's what we do here. We inform the listener about this stuff so they don't have to watch it, because it ain't good for quite a while.
Yeah.
It's still not great.
But that's kind of what we said at the top, right? Like this year, we're going to see some like hits and misses. I think as far as Raw goes, I think this was a hit for Raw. This was a much better show. Even if we say that it didn't beat Nitro, this is a much better step in the right direction for Raw than we've had. I think we had one, you do last week before that, where it was like, I felt they won. Mm-hmm. But it seems like they're putting some pieces together where like, okay, these work. There's actually an episode that's coming up and I'm digressing a little bit, but there is an episode that's coming up in the near future that me and Scott both got super hyped and then immediately soul-crushingly disappointed for, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, that happens quite a few times in 1997, though.
That's
where we
true.
where we see something, we're like, oh shit, this is it, and it's oh no, it's not. Oh no, it's bad. But yeah, so we hope you enjoy it as we go along, and keep listening, keep watching, and thank you for tuning in to the Monday Night Wars. I am Scott, and with me, as always, is Joseph. Good night, everybody.
Bye, guys. Hey, everybody, it's Joseph. And guess what? Not only can you listen to us every Monday on Spotify, but you can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and YouTube Podcasts as well. Just search for Monday Night Wars Podcasts. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us on Twitter at MON Night Wars Pod, on Instagram at Monday Night Wars Podcast, or just email us at mnwpodcast@gmail.com. And finally, subscribe to our Patreon at Monday Night Wars Podcast. For $2 a month, you get every pay-per-view from WCW and WWF during this era, as well as additional content later on. Once again, thank you for listening. We'll see you here next time on the Monday Night Wars Podcast.